Here's my message from young adults writing it. I know how easy it is as a young, entrepreneur, hustler, grinder to be able to get caught up in greed. So I'm just going to read through this as if I were giving the message again, but just to you. And the title was "You're Never Too Far Gone to Escape the Grip of Greed." And when it comes to that, I think it's easy for us not to think we're feeling greedy or we are greedy when it comes to seeing movies like The Wolf of Wall Street. What a good one, right? And you're like, I'm not Jordan Belfort, I'm not Leo, right? Who's obsessed with wealth, power, and indulgence. But here's the deal: greed isn't just about money; it's about an excessive desire for more of something, often at the expense of our own spiritual growth. So here are some common forms of greed that you might struggle with. One first form of greed is for success and status, constantly chasing promotions, titles, or recognition at work or school while neglecting relationships and faith, as well as measuring self-worth by career achievements rather than by God's purpose, which this was me. I was for sure caught up in this form of greed in my 20s and even into my 30s. The second form of greed is for attention and social validation. So obsessing over social media likes, follows, or approval from others, as well as constantly comparing one's life to others and feeling discontent. The third form of greed I mentioned was for relationships and love, using people for emotional security rather than building healthy, Christ-centered relationships, as well as always needing to be in a relationship to feel value. The fourth form of greed is for experiences and entertainment, prioritizing fun, travel, or personal enjoyment over spiritual growth and service, as well as spending excessively on hobbies while ignoring generosity and stewardship. And finally, the fifth form of greed, that's probably the most common, is for money and materialism. So it's the pursuit of more stuff, more money, more things, and selfishly striving for more at the expense of your Jesus journey. So greed in all forms pulls our focus away from God and away from others. Luke 12:15 reminds us to watch out, be on guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. So in this message, I asked the question, have you ever thought money could solve all your problems? I know I have lots of times where I think just more money is going to fill this void. More money is going to fix this problem. But since materialism is the most common form of greed, that is where I'm focusing my message on to today. But the truth applies to no matter what kind of greed you struggle with. 1 Timothy 6:10 says, "For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs." So again, money itself isn't evil, but when we make it our ultimate goal and it becomes an idol and something we trust in God more, or more than God, which is not good. Matthew 6:24 says, "No one can serve two masters, for you will hate one and love the other. You'll be devoted to one and despise the other." That tension is going to be there. So I related this to the story of Zacchaeus, and he was a man who was spiritually bankrupt, but had wealth. And I'm just going to read Luke 19:1-10 here. It says, "Jesus entered Jericho and made his way through the town. There was a man there named Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector in the region, and he had become very rich. He tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass that way. When Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. 'Zacchaeus,' he said, 'quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today.' Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and took Jesus to his house with great excitement and joy. But the people were displeased. 'He's gone to be with the guests of a notorious sinner,' they grumbled. Meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, 'I will give half my wealth to the poor, Lord, and if I've cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much.' Jesus responded, 'Salvation has come to this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham, for the Son of Man came to seek and save those who are lost.'" So to break down and dissect the story of Zacchaeus here, you may have heard of him in Sunday school, just a short guy who climbed a tree, but it's much more than that. So Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector, meaning he got rich by overcharging people. He idolized wealth and power. So the Roman Empire established a tax system in which Jewish tax collectors were responsible for collecting taxes from their people and the Jewish population on Rome's behalf. A chief tax collector like Zacchaeus was a higher ranking official who oversaw other tax collectors in a specific region, which means he had climbed the corporate ladder as well. And chief tax collectors were viewed by society as traitors to their own people by betraying their own nation to work for Rome. They were viewed as greedy and corrupt. Many tax collectors charged excessive fees, getting rich by exploiting their fellow Jews. And they were viewed as social outcasts. They were often excluded from Jewish religious life as their profession was associated with dishonesty. Just think about Matthew in The Chosen and how the disciples hated him, people despised him. It took a long time for them to accept Matthew and to not treat him as an outsider. Then in Luke 19:5-6, in the middle here, we see Jesus calls Zacchaeus out despite his reputation and invite him into a relationship. Jesus did the unthinkable by inviting himself into Zacchaeus' home, showing love to someone that society had rejected. Despite his wealth and power, Zacchaeus was still searching for something more, leading him to climb a sycamore tree just to see Jesus. Why would he do that? Well, he knew that money can't save us. And Zacchaeus knew that he felt unfulfilled. Only Jesus offers that salvation and true security. Then finally, in Luke 19:7-10, we see Zacchaeus repent, give away half of his wealth, and restore what he stole fourfold. His heart changed, and so did his actions. So greed blinds us from true fulfillment. Like Zacchaeus, we can chase wealth and still feel empty. Just like in Ecclesiastes 5:10, that reminds us, those who love money will never have enough. How meaningless to think that wealth brings true happiness. Zacchaeus shows us that wealth alone cannot satisfy our soul. His story also shows us how Jesus personally reaches out to the most unlikely people, offering redemption, even to those society deems unworthy or too far gone. His transformation proves that no one is beyond God's grace, no matter their past. And I can relate to Zacchaeus for sure. As I mentioned, I've struggled with greed my whole life, pursuing wealth, pursuing status, and building my own kingdom instead of God's kingdom. It showed in my actions. And this was all throughout my 20s, even into my 30s. And I still have a little hint of this as well that I'm working on. But in my 20s, man, I was opening my phone to see how much business we did the previous day instead of opening up my Bible. Checking my business numbers were the last thing I did when I went to bed and the first thing I did when I woke up. But not much opening of the Bible. I was opening up social media, craving the love and the likes from others more than opening my heart and praying. I was eager to listen to a podcast that would get me ahead, that could help me accomplish more instead of letting myself rest and refill with worship music. I was craving the next party or the next business event and more than the next church event. And so much so that even my wife, Abby, would tell me that I was an event junkie. So all excited to join events. And then number 5, it showed in my actions of I was investing and trying to get ahead with money, trying to invest in my Roth IRA and other investments, over investing into the eternal kingdom by tithing. So I was covetous of many things, is blinded by materialism, wanting more. I was always wanting what other top managers had or other people had, whether it was watches or cars or trips or just cool experiences. And I was left unfulfilled and chasing the next accolade or the next bonus. But God did work on me, and he softened my heart. He really helped me shed my pursuit of more in a greedy way. And I do want to be clear, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with grinding. There's nothing wrong with putting in your best effort. There's nothing wrong with earning a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with building a business, pursuing leadership, building wealth, or chasing your God-given dreams. But when it becomes a higher priority than a relationship with God, and even gets in the way of it, that's a problem. And so I challenge you to really ask yourself this question. Am I placing my desire for more above God, therefore turning it into an idol that I worship? And it shows in your actions. So here are 5 keys to escape the grip of greed if you are in this struggle. The first key to escaping the grip of greed is generosity. So generosity breaks the grip of greed. Just look at Zacchaeus. When Jesus transformed his heart, his immediate response was to give. Generosity wasn't something he had to be talked into. It overflowed from a heart that he had been set free from greed. And when we live open-handed, money loses its hold on us, and greed can't survive in a generous heart. Jesus said it like this. So Matthew 6:19-20, don't store up treasures here on earth, where moths eat them and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal. Store your treasures in heaven. So to practice not storing up treasures on earth, I challenge you this week to give something away. Maybe it's giving away credit to someone else when you could have taken it. Maybe it's giving up your time to someone else. Maybe it's giving away some money to someone who's struggling. Maybe it's giving possessions to someone who needs it more. So let God loosen your grip of greed and possessions so he can fill your hands with what truly lasts. The second key to escaping the grip of greed is to trust with your tithe. Just flat out, are you tithing? Zero judgment, but to get real here, some people say they can't tithe. They can't give their 10% of their income to God because they don't have enough. But if we looked at your bank account, it may tell a different story. The truth is everybody, all the young adults are tithing, 100%. The question is to what church though? Meaning, I'm just getting up in your grill here, but some people are faithfully tithing to the church of Starbucks, to the church of golf, the church of cars, to the church of alcohol and partying, to the church of Lulu, and do I dare say the church of Culver's. But we spend our money without hesitation until it comes to giving back to the one who gave us that blessing. How can we honestly ask God for more blessing when we haven't been faithful with what he's already given us? So let go of fear that says there won't be enough. Tithing isn't about God needing your money or the church needing your money. It's about God having your heart. Matthew 6:21 also says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So will you trust him or keep clinging to your money? The third key to escape the grip of greed is to prioritize Jesus. So money fades, stuff breaks, jobs come and go, but the relationship with God, that's eternal. And some of us say we love Jesus, but our calendar and our bank account say otherwise, right? Spending money on going out or video games instead of signing up for that girls or guys retreat or that church event. Skipping young adults or skipping church because you have to grind or because you stayed out too late the previous night. Or working 7 days a week, chasing more while ignoring the one who provided it for you. Matthew 6:33, one of my favorite verses, a life verse of mine, says to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be given to you. So God's not asking you to ignore your responsibilities. He's asking you to trust him enough to rest. Here's a great question. Also check yourself with. Does my pace and my focus show that I'm trusting God or that I'm relying on myself? So what would it look like for you to seek him first this week? Show up to a Bible study, even if you're tired or you have extra work to accomplish. Set boundaries on your work. Say no to things that aren't bringing you joy and peace. Take a Sabbath and let your soul breathe. All right, getting into the fourth key to breaking and escaping the grip of greed is do your best and let God do the rest. St. Augustine said, pray as if everything depends on God, but also work as if everything depends on you. So yes, again, work hard, be excellent in what you do, give God the glory, but don't obsess over climbing a worldly ladder when God is inviting you into a kingdom promotion, which is a much better promotion than at work in the long term. Proverbs 16:3 says, commit your actions to the Lord and your plans will succeed. So we aren't made just to make money. You were made to make a difference. Your calling is greater than your paycheck. I know some young adults, they're stuck in toxic jobs or unhealthy environments, all for the sake of a paycheck. But God will provide, especially if you're making a move or a change to strengthen your relationship with him. Greed says chase the bag, but faith says chase the kingdom. And then finally, the fifth key to breaking away from greed is to pray that you are released from greed. So a couple prayers I've queued up in my Bible app. So I do the daily refresh every day. I love it. And you can queue up prayers and put prayers in there, which allows them to come up and cycle through every day with your prayers that are in there. A couple that I have just flat out word for word that I'll read here that I've had in there for a while, because I still struggle with this, and I still want to resist greed and resist building my own kingdom. So the first one I will read here, the title of the prayer is Financial Abundance. I wrote, thank you for great opportunities to earn. Bless me with blank amount per year. Don't let money become an idol. Guide us in stewarding what we have by following a budget and having awareness. We want to give and tithe more. We want you to trust us with more. And the second prayer I have in there relating to this message is identity in Christ versus accomplishment. It says, thank you for our leadership roles. Work will not become an idol. We will trust in you by resting and keeping the Sabbath. We want our pace to show that we are relying on you and not ourselves. Help us build layers and delegate. Make us disconnect from work and be present with life. So my prayer over you is that you are successful and happy in life without it being at the expense of your relationship with Jesus. If you're struggling with greed, just like Zacchaeus, I pray that you have a heart change and that you make your pursuit of Jesus above your pursuit for more. So to wrap this up, you can escape the grip of greed. You totally can, but we must resist the temptation to think money solves all of our problems, or that social status and likes define our worth, or that we were designed to build our own earthly kingdom. Instead, we need to trust in God, knowing that true security and success comes from Him alone.